Ladies and gentlemen, stargazers and cosmic enthusiasts, welcome to Cosmic Conversations, a fascinating new podcast that takes you on an awe-inspiring journey through the wonders of the universe and you. Today, we are thrilled to introduce to you the brilliant minds behind this cosmic odyssey. Two extraordinary individuals with an insatiable passion for the unknown, or what is behind the veil. Rebecca Nagy and Susan Reynolds. Meet Reverend Rebecca Nagy, a seasoned spiritual teacher and novelist with an ability to decode the secrets of the ancient wisdom. Armed with her contagious curiosity, she has spent almost 50 years exploring the final frontier of the mind. She has helped countless souls look to within and marvel at the boundless secrets of the universe. Susan Reynolds, her esteemed co-host, is a passionate astrologer and spiritual teacher whose astrological understanding makes complex concepts of the stars accessible to everyone. From the smallest speck to the grandest cosmic event, Susan's ability to weave the wisdom of the stars with her intuitive gifts will have you captivated. Together, Rebecca and Susan form a dream team that will take you on a voyage through the spiritual, metaphysical, and astrological realms and your unlimited potential. Their dynamic chemistry and shared enthusiasm will make every episode of Cosmic Conversations an enlightening and fascinating experience.
Welcome to Cosmic Conversations. I'm Susan Reynolds,
And I'm Rebecca Nagy.
and we're your cosmic hosts for a journey and an adventure into all different kinds of cosmic thinking, woo-woo experiences, and journeying into thoughts, worlds, and ideas that maybe we don't run across in our everyday life. And speaking of this, I know the last time that we were talking about the ancient wisdom teachings, which is starting to come back around again. And I'm super excited about that. But one of the things I'm most excited about is that Rebecca has just finished her first novel that incorporates the ancient wisdom teachings into the story. We said last time that we had tough teachers who really held our feet to the fire. This is a wonderful way of getting some of those teachings in a way that's joyful, in a way that's interesting, even exciting. So, Rebecca, can you tell us a little bit
I
about this
would
book?
I would be happy to. The book is called Phoenix Rising Initiation. It is the first of a trilogy. It has been on Amazon since October 6th, today is February 20th, 2024. So it's been on about what, four months or so, 5 months. What was exciting about this book to me was that within 3 weeks, the ebook version of it was on the top, it's in the top 100s. It actually hit number 4 at one point in the ebook. So that was pretty exciting to me, especially when the reason I wrote the book, and I think it's kind of an interesting story. During COVID, I got into a genre of sci-fi fantasy, and a lot of sci-fi fantasy books are really about the hero's journey, and they incorporate the ancient wisdom. And it's if you're of the Christian faith, it's like the steps that the master took to become enlightened into ascension. So anyway, I had this idea as I was listening to a book, and I to this day I can't remember which one it was, but I thought, you know what? We had just finished the first 3 years of my Golden Quest Mystery School. We just had a graduating class. And because of COVID, we weren't able to get together. And I kind of wanted the message to get out there to a broader audience. So I came up with the idea, or it was given to me, really, it was a dream, to take the 3 years of the mystery school and put it into a sci-fi fiction novel. And so this is what came of it. And it's actually a genre that I learned after I wrote the book called visionary fiction. And visionary fiction is fantasy fiction, but it also has an underlying spiritual message. So my book can be read at different levels. It can be read purely for the fantasy and the fun, and it's got ancient aliens and vampires and witches and all this stuff. but there's spiritual lessons because the girl that the story is about is actually one of 7 Aquarian avatars. And of course, we were talking about the Aquarian age before, about it's about group work. So in the age of Aquarius, and I remember talking about this when I attended my mystery school called Sancta Sophia Seminary. It was considered a mystery school, but we had it established as a seminary, so those of us that graduated could have credentials to teach and to heal, and to do ministry. So one of the things we talked about was that, okay, so if everybody talks about the reappearance of the Christ or Jesus coming back. And we said, well, yeah, but that was the age of Pisces, and that was about one. That was about the Messiah. That was about the Savior. But we're going into the age of Aquarius. That's about group work. And so I took that premise and interwove it into my novel about, okay, it's not just about one, it's about 7. And so, and that's what the book is about. And it starts, and I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to just read a little bit from the introduction, the
ahead.
prologue, because the prologue actually, and that's actually, the prologue is what this picture is about. That's the sinking of Atlantis, and that's the soul of the main character. This is the High Priestess Aisha, and those are the ships that are leaving as Atlantis
I
sinks.
love that cover.
I
When you
love it.
showed me that cover just catches the eye and draws you in.
Well, and I'm very proud of this cover because I started it on AI. We talked about AI the last time, and I started on this AI called Mid Journey, and then I got to a certain point, and I didn't know I couldn't add the spaceships, and she has a bloody sword. So I reached out to a book cover designer, and he finished it and formatted it for me. So again, there was a collaboration between AI and human that I think is very Aquarian in how this book has been developed. But I'm going to start out with the prologue. She stared in horror at the killing fields. Her right hand trembled as she held the blood-stained sword. Crumbled stone and shattered columns lay strewn, remnants of a once majestic temple and palace. Wisps of smoke curled skyward, a haunting eulogy. Among the ruins, priests and priestesses, their faces streaked with ash, gathered. Eyes dimmed by fatigue met as fingers, calloused from prayer and battle, tended to reach for each other to tend each other's wounds. Misshapen creatures surged from fiery cracks in the earth, monstrous demons reanimated by a pervasive evil. Holy defenders reeled, realizing the betrayal from within. Exhausted and devastated, they steeled themselves for battle. And then it goes on, I don't want to read the whole thing for you because, we won't talk about it, but it goes on to explain how she had, the High Priestess Aisha, had gone against the codex of the Masters of Wisdom, which are real, and she had taken human life. And she is from the planet or the star system Sirius. And these beings came during this time from all over the universes, because humanity was beginning to come into their consciousness, and they were guided by God. In my book, I call that entity the Radiant One, to go and teach these young ones. And they established the first mystery schools and the temple schools. So the idea of this book is, I remember one person wrote a review on Goodreads for me in the very beginning. And she said to me later, she sent me an email. She said, okay, so I have a feeling a lot of stuff in this book is true. And I said, yes, indeed, it is. Stay tuned. I said, it takes place on my mystery school website. There's a lot of information on Golden Quest Mystery School. But
Well, I'm going to interrupt you for
Yeah.
just one moment.
Yeah.
Because when you were talking about the book, you used the word avatar. And of course, you and I have been trained in what that means. But can you just explain to anybody who may not know off the top of their head what that
Besides
word
the movie.
means? What's going on when you say the
An
word
avatar is a perfected being. Like if you look at Buddha or you look at Christ or some of the great Krishna, they were avatars because they were perfected to the point of becoming a master. Then they would then teach. And that's what these 7 in the book are. They're avatars, and they have evolved through lifetimes to become spiritually perfect enough so that they were, tagged by God to then lead into our next step of evolution as humanity. They were here to teach humanity. And so that is also, the book is set up. This first one is called Initiation. And so on the hero's journey, the first thing is you get the call and you get anointed. So that's the first, and you have all this training. And I actually have meditations in here, and then you can download them from my website. So there's a lot in here that is actually usable for you if you want to. Otherwise, just go along for the story and the ride. The second book I'm working on now, I'm about halfway through, finished with it. It's called Phoenix Rising Temptation. So on the hero's journey, you go out and you start, you're ready to slay the dragon, and then you get tempted because, are you sure do this? Come this way, it'll be easier for you. Does this sound familiar? There's a story about that in the Bible. And so she's going to be tempted. She has heard the call. All 7 of them heard the call, and then she's going to be temptation to the dark side. And then the third one, of course, is Phoenix Rising Ascension. Now, underneath all of these books, there is a cosmic eternal love story. Of course, it's got to be a love story. And so she had, because she had created this crime against humanity in the first book, she had to go through lifetimes and lifetimes to become spiritually perfect enough to then take on this role as an avatar. And her name in current day is Cassandra Oberon. So, but she had a soulmate, Manu, who had to leave her on Earth, and he was a high priest of Sirius as well. And I call them celestials. They were from Sirius. And he took off in the ship, but she couldn't come with him because she had done this horrible thing. So she got trapped on the Earth and had to enter the karmic wheel, cause and effect. Actions have consequences. And so he looks for her lifetime after lifetime as she reincarnates. Sometimes he finds her, sometimes he doesn't. And guess what? He finds her again in this lifetime. So it's this beautiful thing of coming together, going apart, finding each other, because it's about soul love. It's about soulmates, really.
I'm a sucker for a good love story, but I was lucky enough, along with some friends of ours and some of the Golden Quest mystery students, to be reading chapters that you were working on all along.
Yeah.
And I saw you go back and revise things and mention concepts in different ways. And part of me, I mean, I have so much respect for you as an author because you're so gifted, but part of me is in awe of how you incorporate these different worlds, these mystery school concepts. You're talking about celestial beings, avatars, Cassie's journey. It's how did you face the challenges of trying to bring in so many different worlds and ideas into a story that makes sense and that the regular person who maybe hasn't gone to mystery school can understand?
Well, I tell you, there's also a good deal. Cassie is a dream walker. And a lot of our mystery school teachings, our mystery school training was about how to use dreams. And being a first time author, and I'd never written anything except sermons and speeches. I mean, I wrote for the spoken word before this. So one of the things that I saw happening is, and I would meditate, and sometimes I'd write myself into a corner, and that's where you guys, as my beta readers, were so valuable to me, because I would say, does this make sense? But what happens when you really get into this world that you're creating, and yet I'm pulling from, and I have journals I'm pulling from things that actually happened to me. Like, I actually had encounters with space beings when I was doing some work with the Monroe Institute, and was getting into higher levels of consciousness and different dimensional things. And if y'all go explore the Monroe Institute, I'm not crazy. It does happen. But what happens is, first of all, information seeps through your dreams. Like, I would wake up sometimes, usually 2 o'clock in the morning, and have these ideas, and so I'd write them down. And sometimes when I got back up in the morning, that doesn't make any sense. But some of them was, oh yeah, this would be a great scene for the book. Then about halfway through the book, the characters started talking to me. The characters had a life of their own. Manu, her love interest, said, wait a minute, And there's another, I don't want to give any spoilers, but she has her boyfriend in the present time called Paxton. And he would start to say, wait a minute, let's not be too hasty here. And Cassie would say, yeah, but I don't want to, have all these guys after me. And, I'm supposed to be this spiritual being, but I don't really want to. So it's a process. They become like, they're always here. They're always back here. And the second book right now, I'm doing so much with the first book, like we're having book signings and launch parties and the audiobooks in production. There's so much of the left brain stuff that I have to do. The right brain keeps saying, come on, let's get back to writing the second book. So as a creative person, and I've always been a creative person. I was a fashion designer, I was a motivational speaker, I was a pastor, and that wasn't so creative, but you were there with me during those years too.
It was creative.
It was
Just in
creative.
a different way.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, and plus sometimes I just go blank, and that's where I did find a fabulous writing coach. His company's called Right on Purpose. His name is Brad Swift, and I worked with him every other week for like 4 months, and he really helped me dive deep into, why am I a writer? Why are you writing this? Well, I'm writing it because I want people to find the wisdom teachings. I want them to find the ageless and ancient wisdom, and maybe get excited about maybe learning something more than their typical spiritual path has been. And the second was, I wrote it for myself. I wrote it because I wanted to clarify my own spiritual path. Over 40 years of study and teaching and experiencing, do I still believe the same way I did when I started on this path? And I found out I didn't. I found out I had a much broader concept of the great is, the all, the creator, God, whatever. And that it's within each one of us. And I think everybody will find themselves in this book. They'll find themselves in one of, if not all of the characters, because it's a part of our psyche. All of these, the hero's journey. If anyone's familiar with Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, that's the basic structure of this book.
Well, I love how much of the ancient wisdom teachings are incorporated into the book.
Thanks.
And to me, pretty seamlessly. But I'm also wondering, are there any concepts that you started out wanting to put in there that you took out or didn't get a chance to get in there?
Yeah, some of them, like, because I wanted it to be understandable for people that knew nothing about the wisdom teachings. There's a lot about meditation and developing the mind. It's very Aquarian that way. It's about technology, because Cassandra Oberon is a computer whiz, and she has a scholarship to Queen's University in computer science. So, but I also I wanted to talk more about the wisdom teachings and like initiations and what some of the intuitive development stuff is. So that's going to be in the second book. The second book is going to be more about who was it we studied with Dion Fortune, some of the pitfalls upon the path of becoming a spiritual disciple, really, the discipline of being a disciple. I decided to put that off to the next book, so this could germinate for people. And then the second book will have a more, and it also have, I believe in hands-on. I believe in having exercises for people to do if you want. So there's going to be exercises throughout these books that you yourself can incorporate into your own spiritual practice.
See, I love that, because I think we learn the most through doing,
Yes.
Not through listening, not through hearing it, but through taking it and incorporating it into our lives.
Yeah.
And I was always taught that's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge gives us the information, but we move into wisdom when we're living it, when we're doing it, when we have made it our own. And that's when we go, oh, this is harder than it sounds like. Oh, gee, how do I live this? This is a challenge. That's where real wisdom comes from, to me.
Well, and along those same lines, when there's a difference between like having a secret, like the secret school, the secret teachings, and having a mystery school, because a secret, once told, is known. But a mystery cannot be shared that way. You have to go within and understand it at a whole different level. So that's
Oh,
why
I
these
love
mystery
that.
teachings have never been just given out to the, what in the mystery teaching book called the Bible, it talks about how the master gave meat to the disciples and milk to the crowds. And this can be read either at a milk level or at a meat level.
Yeah, I was always taught that you could read the Bible on three levels. One on the historic level,
Mhm.
because you can kind of see what people's lives were like and oxen and how did they live. Two was on the literal level. The disciples got meat, they had a steak sandwich, they had the meat, and the other people got milk, totally literal. But the third level is the one where you're reading it on a spiritual level with the mysteries incorporated.
Mhm.
And as you start to read it on that level, the mysteries unfold and reach deeper and deeper levels that open up for
Well,
you.
and that's another reason. That's another thing I have in the book. I have past lives, and that this was where a lot of time was spent because when she has a past life recall or she does a past life regression and remembers like maybe when she was in the court of Marie Antoinette or in ancient Egypt. I did a lot of research because I wanted it to be as accurate as possible and yet still embroider it because it's a fantasy novel, because so I mean the powers are fantasy for now. I think that all the powers that these beings are going to have, I think we're perfectly capable of having them. And it goes back to something that I think it wasn't Edgar Casey, it was Dale Carnegie. Maybe he said, "What you can um, conceive and believe, you can achieve."
Mm-hmm.
And that's the manifesting process. You have the idea first, then you really believe in it. And this is where I went with this book because I had the conception and I believed in it up to a point. Then I got to a point halfway through. I think you guys remember. I thought, I don't know, do I suck? This is, you know, and because I feel like this was given to me by spirit to do as my opus kind of thing. Um, I was led. I never go hardly at all to these. I'm also in the event industry as a wedding officiant, and so I went to a event cocktail party one time. It was a year ago, August, and we were standing around with some of my favorite event planners that I adore, and we were talking about what we were doing outside of our weddings. And I said, well, I'm kind of writing a novel. And they said, oh, what kind? And I told them, I said, but I'm at the point where I really think I need an editor because I don't know whether I suck or not. And so one of the planners said, what's the genre again? And I told her, sci-fi fantasy kind of thing. And she goes, my father-in-law happens to edit those kind of books. So boom, I had an editor. And then, of course, it took me days to actually send it to him because I thought, oh my God, I don't know. I mean, it's one thing to have my beautiful students and friends from Golden Quest say, hey, it's good. But it's another thing to send it to a professional editor, right? So
It's sort of
anyway,
like you love me, you have to like it.
yeah, right, exactly. You love me, you have to like it. But you guys are tough on me too. I mean, which is good. That's what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be honest. So anyway, I finally got hold of Art, and I sent him my manuscript, and he said, I'll do the first 2,000 words for you so you can see how I work for you. So I sent it back, it was all red marked and everything. And I thought, oh my gosh, let me call him back. I said, so he goes, I would be honored to work with you. I said, oh my God, you think it does? Because I thought it sucked. Because he said, it so doesn't suck. He said, you just need an editor. And so really that was the beginning of the journey, how the book got made and how it progressed. And there's a whole lot of other things I'll share with you as we go through these, because I do want to share with you the wisdom teachings that are in the book, and hopefully you'll buy it. It's on Amazon, and actually you can get it at Barnes and Noble now too. It's actually, you can get it almost anywhere. If you go into a bookstore and say, I'd like to order this book, they can get it now. Anybody can get it. So
I bought my book from Amazon. I know that you would have given me a book and been glad to give me a
I
book,
know
but I wanted to support you by buying my very own book.
I was fully prepared to give all my beta readers a book, but you guys were fabulous because you bought your own books and supported me in those first. Yeah, that was great because that was what helped it become a bestseller on Amazon. Was all my peeps, and then all the other peeps started to buy it, and so now I've gotten a couple royalty checks even. It's kind of surreal. You know how when you dream about doing something and then it starts to happen and you think, wow, am I still dreaming? you know,
Well,
um,
what you're talking about are the ripple effects that start to spread out.
yeah,
And that's all about wisdom teachings and ancient doctrines and how that happens and how our energy affects the circle of energy around us, which affects the next circle of energy around us,
yeah,
and so on and
exactly.
so on.
Well,
And
and the thing is,
yeah,
you know, you're
Cassie's journey has been your journey, a journey of discovering. You're discovering yourself as a writer.
well, and continuing as a teacher, and that's what I'm thrilled about is that if you guys didn't see the first one, Susan is going to be teaching some wisdom classes too, and so and that's how this works. I'm not teaching at Golden Quest right now because I'm writing the books, and so the Golden Quest people are looking for places they can you know either teach or take more classes, and Susan's a fabulous teacher, and so I really encourage you to sign up. We're going to have a slide at the end of the presentation where you can sign up for her newsletter and my newsletter and I will be doing some one-on workshops, just some little workshops, maybe about a dream workshop or something like that. But I always like to teach with people, and so does Susan. I think it's really good when you can work with a colleague like that. So
Well, years ago, before COVID, Rebecca and I did a weekend dream retreat.
yeah,
And we
it's
took
fun.
a group of about 12 people. We went to the mountains of North Carolina and we dug down deep into dream work the whole weekend. And that was, since it was before COVID, that was like what, 2019 or
Yeah.
something. And I still have people telling me that happened in the dream weekend. I got that information when we did that retreat. Like, it made such a difference,
Yeah.
and that's a powerful thing when you take a small group of people and really delve into one subject. Your energy activates other people's energy, and it's like like a mushroom. Boom, everything gets bigger, better. Very exciting stuff, and
Yeah,
I'm
it
so
really is.
excited.
And I think the biggest lesson for me and for anyone actually that is thinking about doing anything creative or learning or whatever is um just to have faith the fact that you wouldn't even present it wouldn't be presenting itself to you unless you're meant to do it. You know, um, Sometimes people say, "Oh, I'm thinking too big," or "This is too much for me." No, you wouldn't have had the thought. Okay, here's a good example. God would have never asked me to be an accountant, never in 1,000 years, because I have no concept of figures. That's what I
And I
hired.
wouldn't be asked to work with
And you
technology
wouldn't be a web designer.
because we all know what would happen.
So, and that's just it. If you have a dream or a thought that really gets you excited, then do it. And because we're our own worst enemies. And that nanosecond, that was for a few days, where I thought, oh God, I suck. What am I doing with writing this book? How could I? And if I hadn't gone ahead and gone the step that the universe put in front of me, what do you have to have? A house fall on you, Rebecca, in order to say you got to write this book? So,
Pretty
anyway,
much.
so that
Most of
being
us
said,
sit
I
there
think it's time
waiting.
for us to wrap up. I just got a thing on Zoom. So,
Well, I'm glad everybody got to hear about a very special book that brings together so many different concepts on so many different levels. So I'm really glad that we had this time to hear about it and for people to have an opportunity to get it, to read it, and to dip their big toe
yeah.
into these
And
ancient
you can
wisdom
always
teachings.
reach out to both of us. We are not mystery people. We are very public, and you can find us everywhere. So I thank you so much, Susan, for letting me talk about my book and for being a part of this journey of cosmic conversations.
I love it. I'm excited about this book. I sort of helped to give ideas
Yes, you
when
did.
Rebecca would share chapters. What do you think? So I feel like in a very small way, I've had a little bit of a
Very big way.
buy-in and input into getting this book out there. So I am thrilled
Thank you. Well,
that
I
you
am
have
too.
done this. You have completed this. You can hold up a book and say, I wrote this. I
I know
wrote
I
this
did it.
book.
Oh my gosh.
And you can buy it on Amazon. I'm a published author. I mean, I'm so impressed by that, but so excited for you on that.
Well, thank you and namaste. Lots of love.
As we wrap up this episode, a quick reminder to join Susan and Rebecca's enlightening journey. Subscribe to their newsletters at www.exploreastrology.com and www.RebeccaNagyAuthor.com for exclusive insights and updates straight to your inbox. Seeking personal guidance? Book a reading with Susan for spiritual clarity. And for the book lovers, delve into Rebecca's visionary fiction, rich with ageless wisdom teachings. Continue your quest for knowledge with us. Stay curious and in tune with the cosmic symphony. Until next time, keep exploring the universe's mysteries with an open heart and mind.